The Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association helping some of its members which are still picking up the pieces after Hurricane Beryl. People who enter Kadooment bans and make a nuisance of themselves urged not to do so on Kadooment Day. Barbados making preparations for the Caribbean Hotel and Tourism Association Taste of the Caribbean competition in November. And in sports, Team Barbados affected by a shortage of food in the Olympic Games village.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC NewsNight, starting now.
Good evening, I'm Pearson Bowen. The local hotel sector is still picking up the pieces following the passing of Hurricane Beryl earlier this month. Significant damage was recorded specifically along the west coast following the storm surge. Rachel Agard spoke with some players in the industry and filed this report.
The island's west coast took a severe beating from Hurricane Beryl, with some seaside restaurants suffering significant damage and beaches left virtually devoid of sand. The Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association acknowledges it's been helping some of these entities pick up the pieces following the system. Chief Executive Officer Ryan Ford says they will be guided by officials at the Coastal Zone Management Unit and will continue working with members and government to rectify any issues.
The team here at the BHTA had done inspections at some of our member properties that would have told us that they would have had damage. We submitted those reports over to the government through the Prime Minister's office as well as Coastal Zone Management Unit and DEM. We've also done a tour alongside the Prime Minister and her team to see the coastal damage that was there from the seaside rather than just the land side. And since then, many of our members have reached out to the Coastal Zone Management Unit, and they are working hand in hand to find a remedy, at least a short-term fix as to what they can do. And then, of course, there needs to be long-term fixes.
One of the restaurants affected is the Fish Pot. Owner Andrew Warden says they lost some of their breakwater wall and all of their decking, which floated out to sea.
I think most of us are probably seeking permissions to get sea works, sea protection done along the property lines on the coastal properties, and I must commend the Coastal Zone Management Unit for coming out and hearing all of us, because they must have been inundated with every Tom, Dick and Harry asking for help and advice on what to do.
Mr. Warden adds he's grateful Beryl did not leave irreparable damage along the coastline, but he notes it's time extra work is put in to ensure longevity of beachfront properties.
When you see the pictures and the videos of what the Grenadines went through, I'm not sure you can you can only do so much, and financially it's very expensive working in the sea, trying to protect things, so we'll just do what we can.
Further down the coast in Mullins, a beach operator who declined to speak on camera says at least 6 inches of sand disappeared from the beachfront, affecting water sport operators. He says, however, boulders have been installed just above the high water mark to assist with the waves and soil erosion. Rachel Agard, CBC News.
In more tourism news, Barbados will be looking to bring home the bacon and its 5th title when the Caribbean Hotel and Tourism Association's Taste of the Caribbean comes off in November. The last competition was held in December 2019 ahead of the COVID-19 pandemic, but will return this year with both team and individual medals to be won. And the BHTA's Chief Executive Officer is encouraging all chefs, dessert chefs, mixologists and budding entrepreneurs to register for the Barbados competition. The team for the CHTA leg will be decided coming out of this event to be held in August.
Persons always felt that you had to be a representative under a hotel or a restaurant, etc. However, if you have your own food and beverage type business, you can also become a member of BHTA. We have many businesses that are not just a traditional hotel or villa or restaurant. As we do know, those skills persons, especially if they get into catering, a lot of them do their on-the-side job of catering or mixologists. Many of them do their trade in the wedding circuit as well. And all of these are products of the tourism industry. So you can come and register your business as well with us in order to compete.
Mr. Ford adds the training associated with being a part of the culinary team is invaluable, and even if an individual does not win, they will benefit.
If we use one example, let's say Chef Damien Leach, there are three things. What he told me is that for 3 different times that he attended, he had never won. Now there's not many chefs outside of Barbados that can even stand up to Chef Damien Leach. So he has gone on numerous occasions and he was not a winner in the first instance, but now he is winning. Now he's looking towards leading teams. He has his own restaurant and he's doing a lot of catering.
A fresh appeal is being made for spectators to refrain from entering bands on Kadooment Day without permission. The public is reminded they can be prosecuted as it is an offense to do so. Wendy Burke has that story.
Band leaders continue to complain about people entering their bands and causing problems for revelers. This has prompted Chief Executive Officer of the National Cultural Foundation, Carol Roberts, to urge those planning to hit the streets to take in the spectacle on the 5th of August to stay out of the bands. She was speaking at the launch of Flow Grand Kadooment 2024.
Let's party in peace this crop over. We've done it before and we can do it again. Let's see the bands on the road and enjoy the spectacle, the color and the creativity without jumping in and trying to be a part of, and I say it without filter, into the camera, what you have not paid for. Please, please, I encourage you to support the efforts of the bands in a sideline way by lining the route on Kadooment Day, enjoying yourself, enjoying the spectacle without breaking into the bands.
According to the Public Order Act, those found guilty of engaging in disorderly conduct on Kadooment Day are liable on summary conviction to a fine of $5,000 or to imprisonment for 6 months or both. Meanwhile, Senior Director, Head of Communications, CNW Communications, Marilyn Seeley, says the leading telecommunications provider is proud to be the headline sponsor of Grand Kadooment.
This year, we have contributed more than $250,000 in crop over and for the crop over festival as a whole. And we are proud to be also the title sponsor of some key events, such as Flow, Soak on the Hill, which comes off on Sunday, and Flow, This Is Rick. And did I forget, we are also the associate sponsor of the popular People's Monarch. And now, as the headline sponsor of Grand Kadooment, we will ensure an unforgettable experience for everyone.
Following the launch at Pelican Village, dancers in costume joined prominent entertainers to create a colorful parade in the city, which ended at Golden Square.
Well, still on that crop over beat, there is concern that Calypsonians and other creatives are not doing enough to encourage Barbadians to live healthier lifestyles. It's coming from Vice President of the Healthy Caribbean Coalition, Dr. Kenneth Connell. The Deputy Dean, Recruitment and Outreach at the University of the West Indies, believes the same way Calypsonians and other artists sing about crime and other topics, they should be highlighting the issue of non-communicable diseases, which is a public health crisis. Dr. Connell raised the concern as he contributed to a public health talk themed Crop Over, Culture and Cardiac Disease.
I am sure that when I watch the Pick of the Crop finals, in addition to hearing comments about one healthcare institution, I am going to hear about crime. Right? I'm going to hear about crime. Because it's what's topical. We had HIV/AIDS, and you had the HIV/AIDS ban, you had HIV/AIDS. Where are the calypsos? Where are the creatives? Where is the focus and crop over on NCDs? The reason why it's not out there is because it's not seen as a public health crisis. And it is. It's claiming more lives than HIV/AIDS. It's claiming more lives than crime. And it's rampant.
Meanwhile, head of the Queen Elizabeth Hospital's cardiovascular services, Dr. Dawn Scantlebury, reports that an increasing number of Barbadians continue to die from cardiac diseases. She says people are dying younger as a result of cardiac-related issues.
In 2020, I think, is the last published year.
Published year.
Yeah, I think we have more data, but it's not published yet, so they're still cleaning data. The numbers were 547 heart attacks. Incidentally, it was 547 the year before as well. About a third of those are going to die before they reach hospital. Another two-thirds will get admitted. Our mortality rates range between 20 and 30%, meaning that about a third of those will die, which is significantly higher. I mean, die within the first, within the hospitalization or early on.
In more heart health news, Barbados is being told the time has come to embrace some of the new techniques and medications used internationally to further enhance its treatment of cardiovascular conditions. That call has come from Dr. Marcus St. John, a cardiologist at Baptist Health's Miami Cardiac Vascular Institute. He's on island for the Caribbean Cardiac Society's 37th Caribbean Cardiology Conference at the Hilton, Barbados. While he notes Barbados has an exceptional cadre of cardiologists, he says the improvements are needed across the board.
I think the main gap is the absence of resources to reliably offer the stent-based treatment 24/7, which would be the ideal. So we have excellent cardiologists, Dr. Dawn Scantlebury and others, who can provide this care, but no one woman or man can do it. It needs a network where you have a reliable team who can do the procedure, where you have all the equipment that you need, and all of that requires resources. And I think that will be the focus for many of the countries, and it will require government involvement. It will require the healthcare system to figure out how do we get the resources to bear.
And interventional cardiologist and leader in the structural heart program development at Baptist Health Miami Cardiac and Vascular Institute, Dr. Nish Patel, is also attended that three-day meeting. He shared details of the latest valve replacement techniques.
By offering the catheter-based valve replacement or valve repair, now the patient can have the treatment of their valve issues without open heart surgery, with just catheter-based approach, where we can replace the valve or repair the valve. In the aortic valve, we have solution for replacing the valve by catheter-based approach called transcatheter aortic valve replacement, where we can replace the heart valve just by catheter-based approach, and the catheter is my pinky finger size, and through that we can replace the valve, and the patient can come in on the day of the procedure and get the procedure done and go home the next day.
Coming up, the Queen Elizabeth Hospital addresses concerns about the new COVID-19 cases. There is no outbreak of the COVID-19 virus at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. That's according to communications specialist Shane Seeley. He says more patients are presenting to the accident and emergency department with symptoms of the virus, but assures there is no reason to panic, contrary to reports on social media. Mr. Seeley says health officials are continuing to monitor trends in relation to the virus that caused the pandemic.
The Accident and Emergency Department's medical team has been able to isolate suspected positive cases and offer the necessary medical intervention. This forms part of the hospital's isolation protocol to help prevent transmission at the facility. Now, we want to remind persons presenting to the Accident and Emergency Department to please wear a mask and inform healthcare personnel on site of your condition.
Barbados' former climate envoy, Dr. Avinash Prasad, has been named among Bloomberg's Green's 13 ones to watch around the world. He's been highlighted for building new systems for climate finance. Prasad, who is now working with the Inter-American Development Bank, tells CBC News he is flattered to be in the grouping of people who are addressing the climate crisis. He counts it as a reward for Barbados.
I receive this as part of Barbados's unprecedented success in recent years in setting the agenda for international financial reform. What worries me, especially now that I've left the government since January, working on the same mission of global financial reform, but from a different vantage point here at the Inter-American Development Bank. What worries me is that you learn everything from your failures and nothing from your successes, and that we must make sure we as a nation learn the right lessons from this success. We've made a difference, not by repeating the same plea repeated for many years that we are vulnerable, that we deserve special consideration, that others owe us, for they do.
Dr. Prasad says Barbados has made a difference by coming up with a global solution to the global problem. He says it can be used with other challenges.
A solution that would benefit all as well as us. It's when we embrace the world that we shape it most in our likeness. And when we focus only on ourselves, passionately, justifiably, understandably, inwardly, we make least difference. That's the lesson to draw and build on and seek to embrace the world and ourselves on other issues critical to our survival, from nutrition security, amid the blaze of diabetes and heart disease we're seeing in Barbados, to how society treats its elderly because we are aging, as well as citizen security.
Barbados and other Caribbean countries are being warned that artificial intelligence is one of the most significant technological events, and if they don't get on board, it will impact socio-economic development. It's the view of Vice Chancellor and Principal of Five Islands campus of the University of the West Indies, Professor Justin Robinson. He was speaking to CBC News after the campus staged a major AI conference.
This is an important technological development, and the Caribbean must be very careful that we don't find ourselves on the wrong side of this great technological innovation, as happened 400 years ago. So one of the main purposes of the conference was to highlight the importance of this issue to us in a Caribbean context, to ensure, in a way, to try to ensure that history doesn't repeat itself. And I think to a large extent, the conference was successful in highlighting the importance of AI, the potential opportunities and threats for us in the region.
Dr. Curtis Charles, Dean and Director of Academic Affairs of Five Islands, says the conference sought to reimagine the digital transformation of the Caribbean in an age of generative AI and the fifth industrial revolution.
We address things like, how could AI assist us in preparing for the next pandemic? More Caribbean people die of non-communicable diseases than not. How could we use AI to help us in that area? So you would see that we have a young Jamaican doctor that's in Antigua that's working with us, that's using artificial intelligence to stem the tide of cervical cancer. So we address climate change, crime, a number of wicked challenges. And I would have to say the conference surpassed our expectation. I think not only in the attendance, we had over 300 delegates, but also in the quality of academic papers that were presented on the Monday, and then the panel discussions that happened on the Tuesday and Wednesday.
Time for Sports Night now, as we're joined by Mark Seal. Mark, good evening to you.
Very good evening to you, Pearson. Not good news coming out of France, though. The start of the 2024 Olympic Games has been fraught with challenges for Team Barbados, which chef de mission Cammy Burke believes may not be solved for a couple of days yet. Speaking to CBC Sports, Mr. Burke firstly is reporting a shortage of food in the athletes' village.
The food is not being cooked in the village. The food is being cooked off-site and then brought into the village. So obviously, you know, the replenishment of certain items will be slow. And two nights ago, the lines were snaking and there was no food. So, you know, obviously the athletes started to complain. And there were numerous complaints at chefs' meetings on mornings. There were numerous complaints about the lack of food. But as I said, they're trying to remedy the situation. From my one part, I would say that The caterer obviously does not recognize that we are catering for a high performance situation. We are in a high performance environment. And obviously, athletes need to be well fed. So we are hopeful that within the next couple of days, we will see improvement.
There are also issues with transportation, which have seen members of Team Barbados becoming lost on a few occasions.
Drivers are still not knowing the way. They're getting lost. Trips that should be 20 minutes taking an hour, and it's leading to a lot of frustration among a number of the national federations. We have suffered so far. Our swimming team have been lost on a few occasions, but eventually they made the race. So trips that would take, let's say, 20 minutes from the village or from the sporting venue back to the village is taking 70, 75 minutes, hour and 20 minutes. And it's not only for the venue, it's also from the airport to the village. One of the things that we as chefs we have identified is that more signage is needed. A lot more signage is needed. Once that goes into place, certainly we will, expect to have some improvement.
And there's also a situation where everyone on Team Barbados may not get to parade at the opening ceremony, as Barbados only received 7 marching passes for the 11-member contingent. Now, despite all that, Mr. Burke expects the Bajan athletes to be ready to compete in their individual events. Track athletes Sade Williams and Tristan Evelyn, along with swimmer Jack Kirby, are already in the village, while triathlete Matthew Wright is due tomorrow. Now, the 33rd Olympiad in Paris officially gets going tomorrow with the opening ceremony. Staying with the Olympics, South Korea's Lim Shi-hyun has set the first world record at Paris 2024, finishing top in the archery women's individual ranking round today.
In business now, Barbados continues to use its presence at international fora to push for debt sustainability for small island developing states. The plight of SIDS was highlighted by the island's Deputy Permanent Representative to the United Nations, Karita White, as she participated in a multi-stakeholder roundtable on debt and debt sustainability. It formed part of the first session of the preparatory committee for the 4th International Conference on Financing for Development in Ethiopia. She put forward 4 proposals, including a debt service suspension initiative. Healthier food options is the difference Neil's Bistro brings to local hospitality. Managing Director Neil Pickering tells the Business Report their motto now is "Healthy never tasted so good." Trevor Thorpe reports.
The bistro restaurant official says low calories are their hallmark, and the use of milk rather than cream is a must in the composition of their menus since there's a move by Barbadians to healthier food. He admits the COVID-19 pandemic and Hurricane Beryl slowed traffic somewhat, but all that is changing.
So we cut out a lot of the salt. We don't do macaroni pie and stuff like that. And when we do Alfredo sauce, we make our Alfredo sauce with milk instead of heavy cream, so that it is a lot less calories to do it.
He also gave us a taste of some of the menu options.
My menu composition is usually chicken, fish, steak, and shrimp. And then you would have your choices of grilled veg, steamed veg, French fries, wedges, and brown rice. You have tossed salad. Then if you want to go fully healthy, there's also the option of the bistro salad, which would be similar to very similar to the regular salad, but it will have on pumpkin seeds, kale, cranberries, and flax seeds, just to make it a little different.
The chef says the feedback has been encouraging.
People have been always telling me that because of how it's done, they don't feel heavy after eating, even though they're full. They still feel full and it stays for a while, but you don't feel heavy after eating. You feel still able to do what you have to do.
Mr. Pickering says innovative menus help separate them from others in the local market. Trevor Thorpe, for the Business Report.
Time now for tonight's trading report.
In Jamaica, Victon Wind Farm Limited ordinary shares with 6,793,144 units was the volume leader, followed by Trans-Jamaican Highway Limited and Lasco Manufacturing Limited. In Trinidad and Tobago, Massey Holdings Limited was the volume leader with 673,271 shares changing hands for a value of Trinidad and Tobago $2,411,013.84, followed by National Enterprises Limited. And here in Barbados, Government of Barbados Bonds Series B was the sole security, trading 10,931 shares at Barbados $80 each.
Back with more sports is Mark Seal.
Starting back with cricket, West Indies skipper Craig Brathwaite is determined to avoid a whitewash by England while gaining valuable ICC Test Championship points from the third test, which starts tomorrow at Edgbaston. Now, Kieran Pollard's MI New York have been knocked out of the Major League Cricket playoffs. In last night's eliminator at Grand Prairie Stadium in Dallas, New York were sent into bat by Dwayne Bravo's Texas Super Kings and made 163 for 8 off their 20 overs. Rashid Khan top scored with 55 off 30 balls with 4 fours and 4 sixes, while Nicholas Pooran added only 8. Romario Shepherd got 7 not out and Pollard 6. Bravo took 1 for 21. Texas in reply romped to 167 for 1 off 18.3 overs to win by 9 wickets. Skipper and player of the match Faf du Plessis hit 72 off 47 with 6 fours and 3 sixes. As you just heard, the result means that Texas will play the loser of tonight's qualifier between Shafin Rutherford's San Francisco Unicorns and Akil Hossein's Washington Freedom for a place in the final. Now, tonight's match starts at 8:30 p.m. It'll be live on MCTV's ESPN channel 308. And that's it for sports.
Well, that's our time tonight. Thank you for spending it with us. I'm Pearson Bowen. For the crew, to all of you, good night. By God's will, we'll see you tomorrow.